Hey, baseball's actually kind of fun when your team wins a few games in a row. Who would have thunk it? What is up? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back and welcome into the Seattle Mariners post game recap. Mariners capture their third win in a row. They take game one of this three-game set against the Cardinals, winning tonight 6-1. They improved to 72 and 70 on the season, 4.5 back in the AL West, 4.5 back in the wild card now as well. As always, before I dive any further into it, smash the like button. You guys and gals always do. Thank you so much. Comment your thoughts on the game below. And don't forget to hit subscribe. Want to get as many people on board as we can here, as there's just 20 games left in the season. Hopefully a little more than that for the Mariners, but, we'll see. So you can hit that subscribe button if you're new, lurking. Still about 30% of the views come from unsubscribed people, so go ahead and hit that sub button. Truly, truly appreciate it. Mariners win their third game in a row. Playing better ball here the last few days. It's been good to see. It's certainly been a lot more enjoyable to see them, taking care of business, getting wins. They get a dominant performance tonight from Bryce Miller, who has really just been, for me at least, under the radar, outstanding this season. The at-bats, again, continue to be better. Even when they're not scoring in some innings, they're still getting runners on. They're still putting themselves in position to get a few runs here. And when I talked about the Mariners are going to try and claw their way back into this thing. They're going to have to probably rattle off a 7-8 game winning streak. They're going to need something, that they haven't done before this season. They're going to have to, do that. Then probably if you lose a game, they're going to have to win the next three. They're going to need like an 11 out of 12, a 7-8 in a row, something in that capacity. And they've won three, right? Maybe that's the start of it. You should feel pretty good getting game one here because you get, Logan Gilbert going tomorrow and Luis Castillo on Sunday. So certainly an opportunity to take advantage and maybe sweep this series that's out there. Of course, Mariners, as soon as we start buying back in is when they seem to just, you know, give us that gut punch. Then as soon as we give up, they start playing a little bit better. It's the typical Mariners MO, but, maybe they have one more run left in them here. So we'll see. They certainly got the pitching that can keep you in every game. And since Dan and Edgar have come in, I think the at-bats have been pretty solid. They're up actually going in today. They were 17th in baseball in WRC plus. I'm not going to use that as to celebrate anything. They needed it to be better than that. But it does show that I think we've seen better at-bats. Like I said, even when they're not scoring, they're getting guys on. They seem to be hitting the ball a lot harder. Thought they did a good job against Eric Fetty today. You look at his line, 4 2/3, only gave up the one run, but 2 walks, a hit batter, and only 1 strikeout against him. So the quality at bats is going up. Mariner Sir was telling me that I think it was Divish on a podcast was saying that, they've already worked with Julio with moving his hand position. So the new coaching staff, I do think, has made a positive impact so far on this team. And, it makes you wonder what the old staff was doing a little bit. And, a lot of you were big on time to move on from Scott. And I kind of defended Scott for a while, but I think clearly when you see some of the results that the new staff is getting, it probably should have happened a lot earlier. So, and again, small sample, but just good to see the team playing, quality baseball. I will talk a little bit. Obviously, the news came out yesterday that Jerry Dipoto will be back in 2025. I don't want to spend too much time on it this year because it's kind of a weird spot, right? Like, Mariners could still win the World Series this year. You know what I mean, right? Like they could. So, but you guys know where I stand on it. I've said it. I think new leadership, new voices needed in the front office. I don't think Jerry's been all bad. I think there's been a lot of good. The rotation's one of the best in baseball. I think there are some good core hitters here. The farm system's in great shape. But unfortunately, they just haven't seemed to find the right ingredients to get a good core to get over the top and get them out of that middling category. Or middling is probably the wrong word, but that like first tier of teams that's out of the playoffs, whatever you want to call that. They haven't really found a way to get out of that after making the playoffs 2 years ago. And they need to take a step forward. They haven't. So I would have preferred them to move on. I don't hold any animosity towards things. It won't change the way I look at this team in the offseason. I'm not going to rip a move they make just because, I think Jerry should be gone, so I don't like the move. I'll be objective. But I think a change is needed. On top of not getting the team over the top, I think there's been some, I always say, I feel like it's kind of the wrong word, but it's been a little toxic, with the front office, the teams, all the stuff in the off season. It just feels like kind of new blood is needed. Now, again, I will go to my grave saying I think ownership, Stanton and company is the biggest issue. But you can't fire owners. So you gotta, I think, look for people that have come from organizations like Baltimore, Tampa, Milwaukee. I think is the perfect example of a team with lower budget constraints that has found a way to have a consistent winner on the field. So that's what I would do if I was in charge. I would probably move on and be reaching out to Milwaukee and seeing who's in that front office. But it is what it is. I'm not shocked at all. I kind of assumed Jerry would be back, and I will say with some of the toxic stuff with, I know some of the players' frustrations and everything like that. I do think Dan Wilson's going to help with that. I think Dan's going to command a little more respect. I think he's going to be a little bit better communicator for that clubhouse. And I think they're going to buy into Dan. So I do think Dan will help with that. So we'll get more into that stuff, once we hit the offseason and everything. And we'll see how this season, finishes up. I don't want to go on a massive, massive rant on it. And then the team wins 90 games. I look like an idiot. But I will stand by what I said, that I do think new leadership is needed within this organization. But they have won 3 in a row, so that's nice too. Let's get in the box score here for this game. Bryce Miller outstanding, 6 innings, 3 hits, no runs, not obviously no earned runs if he gives up no runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. What I think Bryce Miller leads baseball, 9 outings of 6 shutout innings, 6 or more shutout innings. I mean, what's his ERA at? Wins loss 11.8, ERA is 3.18. I mean, I haven't looked recently. I mean, almost like Bryce is like a very low key, like borderline Cy Young season from Bryce Miller. And I kind of feel like, at least for me, kind of the forgotten guy in the rotation, because you've got the big 3, obviously, that get talked about the most. Brian Wu, I think, is a little more polarizing because of the potential and with the injuries and everything. Bryce Miller's, all he has done is gone out there and make every single start this year and delivering a 3.18 ERA. I mean, just fantastic numbers for Miller. Strikeout to walk ratio is exceptional. I'm going to pull it up right now. He's got 151 strikeouts to just, how many walks does he have? 38 walks. Just a tremendous, tremendous year for Bryce Miller. What a leap forward in his second year. And Bryce was someone I was a little bit worried about. You guys know I talked about it. Not that I thought Bryce Miller was bad, but I was worried that he was sort of a one-pitch pitcher. Thought he struggled a little bit more in the second half last year, and that he was getting a little, that teams were picking up on that fastball a little bit, but developing that splitter, willing to kind of change his game up a little bit. That fastball is still dynamic. What a second year for Bryce Miller. Cannot say enough good things. And, I talked about, we'll see what happens with this team at the end of the year, but I'm going to try to look for some of the positives in these recaps, and certainly a lot easier when they win. And Bryce Miller has absolutely just been phenomenal this year. What a second year for Bryce Miller. And I feel like, and maybe it's just me, maybe I'm not talking about it enough, but I really feel like Bryce is just not talked about enough because of how good this rotation is. But man, what a season for Bryce Miller, and so good to see him in September delivering these type of starts as well. Troy Taylor pitches the 7th inning, gives up the home run to Jordan Walker. That can't be perfect every time out. Taylor continues to be, solid. Really glad to see him in high leverage spots, as I've talked about. Colin Snyder gives up the leadoff bloop hit and a stolen base, but wiggles around that without giving up any runs in the 8th inning. And nice of the Mariners to add on in the 9th inning, so the team could avoid going to Andres Munoz as Trent Thornton finishes it up with the walk and a strikeout in the 9th inning. And that's huge too, because you use Taylor, you use Snyder, you go to Munoz, your pen is thin tomorrow. Now you feel pretty good because Chagua will be available. Austin Vos should be available, and Munoz, and you've got Logan on the mound tomorrow. So you should feel pretty good with your pitching now going into Saturday's game as well. So nice job by the offense to score and for Thornton to finish it off. 11 hits for the Mariners, 6 runs, 4 walks, only 5 strikeouts. I feel like the strikeouts have been down a little bit too for this team. And, even it was, I really enjoyed the discussion that Blowers and Goldsmith had on the broadcast. They were talking about a Rosarina sac fly, which I think was in the 5th inning. Yeah, it was in the top of the 5th. Bases were loaded, 1 out. And, Blowers was complimenting it, going, hey, great at bat. As the old baseball players always do. They love the sac flies. They love the outs that score runs. And Goldie kind of commented on that a little bit, saying, boy, I think some of these baseball guys, you guys prefer the sac fly to the home run in those instances. And Blowers laughed. And he's like, of course not. Obviously, we want the home run. But, kind of applauding that, you got the job done. And actually, I think Blowers is right. It's a spot where I feel like the Mariners have struggled a lot. Of course, we want a grand slam there. I'd love to see the double down the line to clear them. But you do, first and foremost, before anything else, have to at least get that run in. Now, if you can work the at-bat and get a double down the line, fantastic. No one's turning that down. No one's turning down a bases-loaded walk or a base hit. but you've got to get the run in. And it feels like a spot the Mariners have struggled in this year. So it's nice to see them, situationally hit a little bit better. Listen, you can't just live on sac flies and ground outs to move runners over. Outs are valuable, but you can't just always go up and hit grand slams. You can't always get bases clearing doubles. You've got to find a way to get a run home in situations as well. And then maybe after, the next guy, hey, now you get the double down the line a little bit. And they did that well in the ninth inning as well. They obviously got the big double from Cal, but they moved some runners over, just more. The team has played more fundamentally sound baseball since Dan and Edgar have taken over. It's still crazy that every loss Dan Wilson's had as manager has been by one run. Going to the box score here, Victor Robles was 0 for 3, was hit by a pitch, was taken out of the game later on. So I don't know if it was the hit by pitch that got him or just issues with his hip, maybe a little bit. Obviously, it wasn't for defensive reasons because Robles is a good defender. He's better than Mitch Haniger, so that had nothing to do with it. So hopefully Victor Robles is okay. Good to see him back in the leadoff spot and JP get moved down. I think it's good for both players right now. JP just scuffling too much, but better today. Mitch Haniger, 1 for 1 in his at-bat, had the nice base hit down the line. Probably should have been a double. It just perfectly bounced off the wall. Good to see for Mitch. Julio, 3 for 5. I don't know. The first one was hit pretty hard. The other two are kind of bloops, but hey, when you're going right, those fall in for you, right? And Julio is certainly, continues to just have a better approach at the plate. Yeah, that hit he had in the ninth wasn't anything special. It was a pop-up bloop, but he's making contact, right? Like he's not flailing away at the plate. He's been drawing more walks. I mean, if nothing else, if this team loses the rest of their games and they don't fix anybody else, hopefully what they did with Julio at the hand position, that is enough to make me say, I hope Edgar comes back next year. That's enough right there because, my gosh, you need Julio Rodriguez. You need him to be 2022, 2023 Julio. So if nothing else, this coaching staff gets a huge win for just doing that. Cal Raleigh, 1 for 3 with the 2-run double, also had 2 walks. 2 more RBIs for Cal puts him at 89 on the year, so 11 RBIs away from 100, 1 home run away from 30. Again, I will continue to say that'd be really cool to see Cal get that. I think he's got a shot. Rosarina was 1 for 4, the base hit and the sac fly. Luke Raley, base hit, 1 for 5 with an RBI. Nice game from Justin Turner. He's quietly been pretty hot, double and a single. Good to see from Turner. JP, you know what? On base 3 times, right? Hitting a couple walks, moving him down in the order, maybe takes a little bit of that pressure off of him. So good to see. Nice game from JP Crawford. Need more of that. Dylan Moore, 1 for 5 with the 2-run home run. Love to see it. Demo's another streaky guy. Maybe get him hot a little bit. Me and Mariner Sir were laughing because we're like, why is Dylan Moore in the lineup? Obviously, I think Polanco's a little banged up with his knee, but why not Leo Rivas? And of course, Dylan Moore hits the home run. That was right after I messaged him going, man, Bryce Miller doesn't look very sharp early. So you're welcome, everybody. We contributed to that. But nice to see the home run from Demo. Rojas is 0 for 4. I do believe he reached on an error. At one point, made a couple nice defensive plays. At third and JP had a couple nice defensive plays. Well, really clean win. Very clean. Not a lot of mistakes for the Mariners. I don't think hardly any good situational hitting. Great pitching. Keep hitting that there. Those are the wins you love to see. And hopefully it can carry over to tomorrow. The good news is with Minnesota and Kansas City playing, worst case scenario, if you can find a way to sweep St. Louis here, you're going to be worst case 3.5 out of a playoff spot. So that's your worst case scenario if you sweep, no matter what. And then you got a couple weeks, a week to maybe get that to 2.5 and see what happens here. So, just like you said, and if nothing else, good to see them playing better baseball. Have a great night, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the first weekend of football. Good game tonight. So football's back. Baseball's come down to the home stretch. We've got 20 post-game recaps left. We've made it. We're making it to the stretch run, and hopefully there's a couple more than 20. We'll see. Have a great night, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe, and as always, go Mariners. Peace.